Dear students, today we are going to start with the first history chapter, when, where and how. So let us see that how these three words, when, where and how, helps us to study history. As we know, history is the study of the past. How far back in time would we like to go? Of course, as far as possible. If we go back too far into the past, we do not get any material evidence to study from. There are only geological remains or archaeological remains which need to be interpreted and understood with great care. As we come closer to the present, we find records and testimonials of some events are available which give us a fair idea of the development of human settlements and society. More and more physical proofs and evidences are available as we come closer to the present. The study of history is divided into three periods, as the ancient, the medieval and the modern. We have already studied the history of ancient times in the previous class. In this class, you shall study about the medieval period. Now, in this given chapter, we have some learning objectives. Like how India got its name, sources of history, the building or monuments, coins, biographies and autobiographies, travelogues, paintings and artifacts, problems faced by historians, quality of source, interpretation of source, highlights of the medieval period in India, growth of settlements, development of travel and trade, social changes, religious changes, political developments, and cultural developments. So, in the previous class, we have learned about the ancient history up to 8th century AD, and in this chapter we will study about Indian history of the medieval times, which began from 8th century CE or AD and covers 10 centuries or 1,000 years. Historic periods do not have sharp cutoffs, they merge into each other as evidences are not chronologically available with precise dates. Thus, broadly, the medieval history you shall study in this class would cover the period between 8th century CE or AD and 18th century CE or AD. For ease of understanding, this period is divided into two parts of 5 centuries each. The first one, 8th century AD to 12th century AD, is called the early medieval period, and the second, 13th century AD to 18th century AD, as the later medieval period. In the early medieval period, we study about Chol, Pal, and Rashtrakoot and Rajputs as powerful dynasties, and in the later medieval period, we study about Turks, Afghans, and Mughals. For the purpose of this study, we have to limit ourselves to the territory of India. But India itself underwent a lot of change in terms of territory and understanding. In those days, there were no surveyed maps. People used to tell directions by looking at celestial bodies and then the compasses. The measuring instruments were crude and the knowledge about the shape, size, directions, elevations, etc. were not detailed. Let us first see how the territory of India was defined and known to exist in those days. To understand what area we are going to talk about, let us see what was considered Indian territory in the past. Now we have an interesting question that how India got its name. Look at the map of Asia in your atlas.